Who are some of the dumbest criminals out there? Let's find out, starting with number 7, Another Rap Confessional. Brooklyn-based rap collective Pop Out Boyz committed credit card fraud and bragged about it in one of their songs. The group released For a Scammer, a track where they talked about credit card fraud, which they called Cracking Cards. They bragged about lavish shopping sprees at luxury stores like Saks Fifth Avenue with the money they scammed. Most of the members grew up in the same neighborhood, with some being an actual pop-out boy in the group, and others being part of the group's entourage. The Pop Out Boyz used websites like Unique Shop, Joker's Stash, and Rescator, which sell data from security breaches at major retailers and other businesses. Card numbers cost $35 to $150, although there are cut rate sites that post them for as little as $1. The websites operate like any other online retailer, featuring shopping carts, a checkout process, and customer service. Some of the sites even offer loyalty programs, money-back guarantees, and frequent buyer discounts. Once a customer gets card numbers, they can search for them by bank, zip code, credit limit, and the length of time since someone stole the information. Authorities aren't able to do much to shut down the sites, since most use VPNs and can only be accessed on the dark web. Others have multiple entry points, so when one is shut down, the owners quickly switch to another. A core group of 11 Pop-Out Boys bought the card numbers from at least 5 websites. They accessed over 2,000 credit card numbers from banks in Canada, Germany, Dubai, and France, and they shared the information in texts and emails with one another. Several other people in the group bought encoding machines and other equipment so they could manufacture the counterfeit credit cards. The gang also recruited friends to shop at stores like Barney's and Saks, sending them to buy luxury items like Celine and Goyard handbags, designer shoes, and Balmain jeans. The group made 275 purchases at Barney's over 55 days, leaving with $258,000 worth of items. Saks also lost $11,000 in merchandise in just 2 months. Ant Stay Machin, which is his special Pop-Out Boy name that he picked for himself, his real name is Anthony McCoy, was the main Pop-Out Boy and supplied the stolen card numbers to other Pop-Out Boys, manufactured the cards, and then spent $4,000 at Barney's and Saks. McCoy posted photos of himself holding wads of $100 bills on his Facebook page. Kayshawn Trisven, who's like the Pop-Out Boy that's always shopping, made 35 trips to Barney's and spent $44,000. With the help of the group song, For a Scammer, investigators tracked down the Pop-Out Boys' operation and arrested most of the 39 members. McCoy pleaded not guilty to the charges, despite authorities finding the encoding machine and an embosser in his home. Trisvan also pleaded not guilty, despite police finding 120 forged cards and $3,315 at his home. To literally write lyrics, bragging, explaining how they scammed a bunch of people is outright stupid, and make sure they get caught quicker. Number 6. It actually worked. Grocery store employee Trey Brown scammed more than $980,000 from his employer. It only took 2 weeks for Brown to steal almost $1 million from the Georgia Kroger, a discount supermarket where he worked. Brown created dozens of returns for items that didn't exist and refunded the money onto his credit cards. He would make up products and assign them a random price, with the refunds ranging from $75 to $87,000. Yes, you heard that right. He returned something for $87,000 to a grocery store. You can guess how this is going to go. His transactions were small at first, but became larger when he realized he was getting away with it. Despite stealing such a large amount of money over a short period of time, Brown made no effort to be discreet and hide his actions. Once the money was in his account, he treated himself to clothes, shoes, and a couple cars. The teen's volume of refunds put him on Kroger's corporate team's radar. Surprise, surprise. Although he worked at the grocery store for less than a month, he had already processed over 40 transactions. Brown's employer reported him to authorities, who didn't have to wait long to locate him. While driving one of his new cars, Brown lost control and totaled it. Law enforcement arrived at the scene and arrested him. He was charged with theft by taking and could get 1 to 10 years in prison. And he probably could have gotten away with it if he didn't have rocks for brains and take so much so fast. Seriously, $87,000 at a Kroger? You could probably clean out 3 aisles and still not spend that much. You might as well have turned on a flashing neon sign. Number 5. Scooting away. Patrick Vandermeyden-Miller made no effort to conceal his actions when he stole a $540 scooter from his local Target. Vandermeyden-Miller picked out his new scooter and took it to the front of the store. But rather than pay for it like the other customers, he just walked past the cashiers. He was so brazen that he might have gotten away with it if he hadn't decided to stop on the sidewalk in front of the store to assemble the scooter. Law enforcement arrived at the scene before he could finish putting together his new mode of transportation and took it from him. Authorities arrested him and gave him a ride to jail. The sheriff at the Flagler County Sheriff's Office dubbed Vandermeyden-Miller as the dumb criminal of the week for thinking he could walk into a store and steal something without facing the consequences. Officials also found illegal substances on Vandermeyden-Miller and charged him with petty theft and possession of paraphernalia. Why he'd decide to put together the scooter right outside of Target is anyone's guess. Maybe the scooter was too heavy or difficult to assemble, or he wanted free food in jail? Maybe he just liked the ambiance of those red shopping carts, providing him comfort like a security blanket. But most likely he was just dumb. Number 4. Buster Skrine arrested for bank fraud. Former Tennessee Titans defensive back Buster Skrine defrauded multiple Canadian banks of more than $100,000. Skrine visited several Canadian financial institutions to open new accounts with fraudulent checks, which he cast a portion of before they fully cleared. Skrine had a successful career with the NFL, playing his entire pro football career in the U.S. He attended the University of Tennessee before the Cleveland Browns drafted him in the 5th round of the 2011 NFL Draft. He signed with the Jets after 4 seasons with the Browns and had short stints in Chicago, San Francisco, and Tennessee before retiring in 2022. Despite his fame, the ex-NFL player made no effort to conceal his identity, giving his real name during each transaction, making it easy for law enforcement to track him down. Investigators learned that a man was entering numerous financial institutions and identifying himself as Buster Skrine. So authorities launched a fraud investigation, and with the help of Homeland Security and U.S. Customs and Border Protection, arrested the 34-year-old at Toronto's Pearson Airport while he tried to board a flight back to the U.S. Skrine was charged with 4 counts of fraud, 7 counts of making false statements to procure money, 1 count of possessing property obtained by crime under $5,000, and 3 counts of possessing property obtained by crime over $5,000. Police said they had reason to believe Skrine committed similar offenses in other parts of Canada as well. And what was the possible endgame here? He didn't even use an alias. What was his plan to get away once he gave them his name? Number 3. The birth certificate. Michael Lloyd robbed a Missouri bank while wearing a court-ordered ankle monitor and scribbling a demand note on the back of his birth certificate. Lloyd went into a Bank of America and approached the bank teller, handing her a note, demanding cash, and warning that he had an accomplice outside. The teller took the money from one of the drawers and gave it to him. He wrote the note in pink highlighter on the back of his birth certificate. Lloyd fled the scene in his roommate's truck, texted the roommate to tell her that he had stolen her vehicle, and told her to listen to the police scanner. The roommate's boyfriend called the police, which led them to his apartment. Lloyd waived his Miranda rights and admitted he was behind the robbery. As part of a state-supervised release, Lloyd was wearing a court-ordered ankle monitor following a past robbery. The device placed him at the scene at the time of the holdup and led the police to him. But authorities might not have needed to track his ankle monitor, since the would-be robber threw his birth certificate and ID out of the window after seeing police cars speeding towards the Bank of America branch. As he sped away, Lloyd called his girlfriend Ashley to tell her what he'd done. Lloyd was arrested and faced a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. Lloyd said he orchestrated the bank robbery after he had a fight with his girlfriend. He wanted to prove a point to her, although he didn't seem to be able to say what that point was. But whatever the point was, we're sure he definitely showed her. What do you think the point he was making was? Let us know in the comments. Number 2. Crime doesn't pay. Donald Murray's Crime Pays forehead tattoo helped law enforcement identify him when he fled the scene following a high-speed chase. It was the second time he'd been arrested in the last 2 months after another high-speed chase. Murray and his tattoo went viral after a high-speed chase that resulted in his arrest. Murray was featured on an episode of Live PD, where the large Crime Pays tattoo across his forehead caught viewers' attention. Officers attempted to pull Murray over for driving without his headlights on at night. Murray put his foot on the accelerator and and fled the scene, prompting the police to chase after him. While speeding away, he lost control of his vehicle and crashed into a tree. So he jumped out of the car and fled the scene on foot, actually getting away. A passenger was left behind at the site of the crash, but didn't know the driver's name. Since no one really knew who he was at that point, he probably could have gotten away clean. Unfortunately for Murray, his tattoo made him pretty easy to identify. Viewers from Live PD recognized him quickly and notified the cops. As it turns out, having a dumb, memorable tattoo on your forehead can make you pretty recognizable. Murray ended up getting charged with possession, resisting arrest, reckless driving, maintaining a common nuisance, and auto theft. And what on earth was he even doing driving at night with no lights? The face tattoo is dumb enough as it is, but driving nearly blind is just dumb and dangerous. Be sure to stay tuned right here for our past release to find out how many rappers love committing crime. Number 1. It's right outside. Boost Mobile employee Jitendra Kumar Sass tricked a would-be thief by locking him inside the store. Sean Brown entered the Philadelphia Boost Mobile store location and asked for iPhones before leaving the store. When Brown returned and brandished a firearm, Jitendra Kumar Sass was the only person working. He pointed the weapon toward Kumar Sass's head and demanded the employee give him money. Brown became angrier when Kumar Sass said he had no money, but the Boost employee had a plan. Kumar Sass lied about having another employee outside who had money, so he asked Brown to wait a few minutes while he went to go get him. Brown waited in the store while Kumar Sass went outside, but once the clerk was out of the store, he shut and locked the door behind him and pulled down the metal security gate. When Brown realized Kumar Sass had tricked him and was now stuck inside the building, he attempted to free himself by firing 10 rounds at the door, but it didn't work. So he went down to the store's basement and beat on the neighboring store's door, but the door was too strong and he couldn't move it, even after he fired at the lock in an attempt to open it. Hey, it works in movies, right? Local police, Homeland Security, and a SWAT team arrived at the scene. The SWAT team used a bullhorn to tell Brown to come out and reminded him that he was trapped inside. Since he already tried multiple ways to leave the building, he eventually gave up and surrendered around 30 minutes after law enforcement arrived. Brown was arrested and entered police custody. Maybe he would have gotten away with it if he wasn't dumb enough to let Kumar Sass leave the building midway through the robbery. He must not watch enough movies.
Here are a few rappers who love doing crime. Number 8. Spot 'em Got 'em. Rapper Spot 'em Got 'em released a viral song in 2020 called Beatbox. The song caught plenty of people's attention and gained some new listeners. In early June 2020, Spot 'em found himself in a car full of friends. They must have been having a party because when they saw a gate blocking their way, they just ran it over. This gate blocked the entrance to a parking garage that the group was trying to get into. When someone approached the group about what they had just done, Spot 'em pulled out a semi-automatic weapon. He and his friends fled the scene after the incident, and nothing seemed to come of it at first. The young rapper felt like he'd gotten away with everything. He still seemed real comfortable when the cops found him on July 15th, asleep in his bed with a Draco, an AK-47 pistol that he wasn't supposed to have. They arrested him with the help of a warrant that was issued after the parking garage incident. Spot 'em was charged with multiple crimes, including aggravated assault with a firearm, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and accessory after the fact to a felony. After reviewing the case, a judge set his bond at a little over $18,000. Number 7. Pop Out Boyz. The amateur rap group Pop Out Boyz tried to make it big and live the infamous lifestyle of the rappers they idolized. However, they felt like no one would take them seriously unless they could flash the cash like everyone else. The boys came up with a credit card scam to get rich quickly and remedy this issue. They started buying stolen identities off the dark web. With new identities in hand, they embarked on a shopping spree at some of the most prestigious stores in New York. The operation itself was sort of sophisticated. During the raid on the Pop Out Boyz and their associates' homes, the authorities found a whole horde of equipment related to fraudulently creating credit cards. These items included a card printer, a tipper, a card encoder, and multiple embossers. Classic police work like this built and sold the case for the authorities. They conducted raids and collected videos to make their case invincible. They had already been investigating the Pop Out Boyz for months beforehand. The boys didn't help their own case by rapping about it. Using over 2,000 stolen cards, the group purchased around $250,000 worth of items from places like Barney's at Saks. The group was charged with grand larceny and a lot of credit card fraud. They even earned the Donkey of the Day moniker from Charlemagne the God on Breakfast Club. Charlemagne gives the title to anyone who has made a complete fool of themselves. The Pop Out Boyz fit that description. Number 6. Game Over Reedy. Rena Oliver, better known by her rap name, Game Over Reedy, found herself in a bit of trouble in 2019 when Child Protective Services came knocking. Reedy, who reported feeling unwell, decided to send her kid to school alone in a Lyft. The driver later stated to police that he told her he couldn't take the child by themselves. However, Reedy reportedly went back into her home and didn't return. This prompted the driver to take the kid to the nearest sheriff's office to wash his hands of the issue. At this point, things moved rather quickly, and Reedy was arrested on charges of child endangerment. In Louisiana, this is considered a misdemeanor and carries around a 6-month sentence. This was not her only problem, though. Upon further investigation, the authorities found 2 warrants for outstanding traffic violations on Reedy. Reedy is another honored recipient of the coveted Donkey of the Day moniker given out by the Breakfast Club in the episode Leave Your Kid for the D Challenge. The name references what Reedy originally got famous for. She started an online challenge called For the D that had celebrities like Cardi B joining in. She called herself a trendsetter for it. Thankfully, the Abandon Your Kid in a Lyft challenge never caught on. Between the controversy, the warrants, and everyone clowning her, it seems like it's game over for Reedy. Number 5. Pavia Ward. Pavia Ward is a rapper from Manchester, UK. In 2020, the artist found herself at the Piccadilly station in Manchester. The staff observed that she was too intoxicated to travel and had the authorities approach Ward and ask her to move along. Ward didn't take too kindly to that. She began cursing and shouting at the staff and officers. She also broke social distancing rules that were in place by getting closer than 6 feet. The officers had no choice but to remove her by force. When they attempted to escort her outside, she resisted them by struggling and even dropping her weight to make it more difficult. Once they got her out, she went straight back into the station. The officers tried to detain her again, but she was able to slip her handcuffs and yank at her own hair. During the complicated, if not a bit funny altercation, one of the officers got bit by the wasted rapper. They'd already charged her with being drunk and disorderly, but her bold act of defiance could have added assaulting an officer to the list. When asked about her side of the story, Ward claimed that she did everything in self-defense and never did anything wrong. In this modern day, the truth was body cam footage away. The officer's footage showed that everything the staff and authorities said Ward did was true. Number 4. Yasin. Yasin is a rapper in Sweden who took the scene by storm when he first popped up. He has thousands of people listening to his music every month. However, this isn't to say that he is without controversy. Like many other rappers, Yasin is no stranger to the grittier side of life. He was arrested many times over his young life. Yasin had multiple drug-related offenses in 2015. He was also convicted on gun charges in 2018 and sentenced to 2 years and 3 months behind bars. Police also questioned him about the suspicious passing of his friend. So it was no surprise when the young rapper was once again arrested in connection with another crime in 2020. One of Yasin's rivals, a rapper named Ina, was kidnapped and beaten. During his time with the kidnappers, they took embarrassing photos of him. They used these to try to blackmail Ina, but he didn't pay up, and the images were released. Upon investigation, the police discovered that the crime was committed by a criminal organization named the Varbin Network. As they dug deeper, the authorities connected them with other crimes as well, and before too long, arrests were being made left and right. Shihab Lamori was arrested and charged with leading the criminal network. He got over 17 years for his involvement. Another rival of Yasin's, known as Haval, was given 2 years and a few months for luring the kidnapping victim to the location where he was captured. Yasin got sentenced to 10 months for passing on instructions concerning the crime. Number 3. Stitches. Philip Nicholas Katsabanis is better known by his rap name, Stitches. He got his name due to a unique tattoo that makes his mouth look like it's stitched together. He also has some other tattoos that make him pretty recognizable. His one-of-a-kind look turned around and bit him in the behind when an officer recognized him. He was parked in a handicapped zone, enough reason for cops to approach his car. The officers knew he was liable to have a gun, but he responded with no when asked. He also handed the cops an already burnt joint and apologized for having it. This gave them probable cause to search the vehicle, and they found his secret stash. There were almost 40 grams of marijuana under his seat, and a handgun, and 2 magazines. When asked why he lied about the gun, the young man said he misunderstood the question and thought they were asking if he had one on his person. They charged the husband and father of 3 with possession of a firearm and drugs. Number 2. Nuke Bizzle. Nuke Bizzle, or as his mother knows him, Fontrell Antonio Baines, committed multiple crimes in his pursuit of a rapper's glamorous lifestyle. On September 10, 2020, Mr. Bizzle put out a music video on YouTube called EDD. The video was about getting money and seemed to fit right into the genre. The young rapper claimed that he didn't have to grind hard for his money and instead figured out how to take it from the government. He says in his song that other artists have to sell drugs while he just has to file a claim. Later in his trial, this line was directly referenced as evidence of his crimes. He stole over $1 million from the California Employment Development Department, otherwise known as EDD. How did Nuke scam so much money in such a short amount of time? Well, he scammed relief funds meant for people struggling financially through the COVID-19 pandemic. The payouts came in the form of prepaid debit cards in the mail. The rapper used stolen identities to obtain almost 100 cards and spent them on everything under the sun. He purchased merchandise, different services, and straight up withdrew the money. Mr. Bizzle and his entourage were funding their flashy lifestyle with benefits that belonged to other people. They might have gotten away with it too, if not for that pesky music video. However, like some real-life version of the famous Key and Peele sketch, he ratted himself out in the song. Bizzle was arrested on September 23, 2020, while partying in Las Vegas with his ill-gotten gains. He was charged with 3 felonies, including access device fraud, interstate transportation of stolen property, and aggravated identity theft. If Mr. Bizzle is found guilty on all counts, he could end up spending the next 22 years of his life behind bars. It seems like bragging about scheming the government wasn't Bizzle's best bet. Meanwhile, that's only the tip of the Nuke Bizzle iceberg. Click here for the full video on Nuke Bizzle. Number 1. C Blue. Rapper C Blue, or Cameron Williams, wears many hats. The young man was an up-and-coming rapper and well-known Crip member. He's also a criminal with gun possession charges. In January of 2022, he added assault to his rap sheet. On January 18th, officers responded to a call about Mr. Blue causing a disturbance. They approached the young man and ordered him to remove his hands from his pockets. When he didn't comply, the cops struggled with him. During the ensuing fight, a gun went off and, in a Cheddar Bob-like moment, hit one of the officers and C Blue himself. At this point, both people were rushed to the hospital and were ultimately okay. The wounded officer left the hospital to the cheers of his partners, while Blue went straight to jail without passing go. He was already on probation for gun possession charges from 2020, yet his lawyer somehow managed to get bail set, even when the prosecution wanted Blue to stay in jail. He posted the $250,000 bail and left the same night he went in. This added to an already growing controversy surrounding Judge Dennis Boyle, who has apparently allowed several violent offenders to walk in New York.
Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section what you would rather have right now. $1 billion but you're 70, or no money but you're 18.